Thank you.
Last question seeking an oral reply. Mr. Lothair LAM, the records of the Marine Department show the passenger throughput of the two cross-boundary ferry terminals, namely the China Ferry Terminal and the Hong Kong-Macau Ferry Terminal, managed by the government, stood at 7.74 million in 2025, marking a drop of 6.5% from 2024, of which the passenger trips handled by the China Ferry Terminal, which accounted for less than 11% of the total, had plunged by 33%. However, the figures of the Immigration Department show that the staff establishment of the two terminals were still comparable over the past 4 financial years, indicating that the government has not adjusted resource allocation in response to changes in the demand for cross-boundary passenger services. In this connection, will the government inform this council first, in respect of each government department, of the respective current staff establishments and expenditures incurred for the operation, repair, and maintenance of the two terminals last year, as well as the expenditure estimates for this year? Second, given that quite a number of passengers have reported aging pier facilities, whether it has studied the merger of the two terminals, thereby reallocating the government resources saved to further enhance the facilities of the Hong Kong-Macau Ferry Terminal, if it has studied the matter of the outcome, if not the reason for that, and third, as it is learned that the water depth of the two terminals can accommodate vessels with a displacement of several hundred tons, and that they are also equipped with immigration clearance and customs facilities, whether the authorities will study their conversion into a passenger transfer center specializing in handling small to medium-sized cruise ships and pleasure vessels. Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, to seize the development opportunities of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, the Hong Kong SAR government has been working closely with the Guangdong and Macau government on providing a robust and diversified cross-boundary transportation network so as to meet the demand for cross-boundary travel between Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. Cross-boundary ferry services, as part of this network, help promote connectivity at sea between Hong Kong and the Pearl River Delta region. There are now two cross-boundary ferry terminals managed by the government, namely the Hong Kong-Macau Ferry Terminal and the China Ferry Terminal, providing a total of 8 routes of cross-boundary ferry services connecting Hong Kong and Macau as well as the mainland cities. On a separate note, the commissioning of key strategic cross-boundary infrastructure projects such as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and Hong Kong section of the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Express Rail link in recent years, coupled with the ongoing enhancement to foster the flow of cross-boundary vehicles, including the northbound travel of Hong Kong vehicles and the southbound travel of Guangdong vehicles, have further improved connectivity within the GBA and shortened the travel time between Hong Kong and the other GBA cities. Meanwhile, these infrastructure projects and measures have diverted the demand for cross-boundary ferry services to other land-based transport options. Having consulted the relevant policy bureaus and departments, I now give my reply to the question from Mr. Lam as follows. First, the staff at the terminals mainly perform routine duties such as property management, access control of vessels, operation of facilities, immigration and quarantine clearance, security and emergency response. These tasks are not tied to patronage. As such, the drop in patronage of cross-boundary ferries in recent years does not mean the staffing can be trimmed proportionally. With regard to department's boundary control points, the staff establishment of the Immigration Department and the Customs and Excise Department at the two terminals in 2026-27 are 325 and 149 respectively, marking a drop of about 6.1% and roughly 4.5% respectively from 2025 to 26. These departments have been closely monitoring the passenger flow in various control points. They implement different measures, including flexibly allocating manpower, optimizing workflow, and making good use of information technology to continuously improve the handling capacity and efficiency of the control points and to ensure their smooth operation. The Department of Health does not maintain a fixed staff establishment at these two terminals. The department has around 5 supervisors who oversee the daily health screening conducted by contractors. The expenditures associated with various control points of these departments are subsumed under their overall expenditures, and hence specific breakdowns for the two terminals are unavailable. For the Marine Department, their staff establishment at the two terminals in 2026-27 is 68, marking a fall of about 2.9% from 2025 to 26. in 2025 to 26 and 2026 to 27, the actual and estimated expenditures for the two terminals, including operation and maintenance expenditures, are about $250 million and $260 million, respectively. Second, any proposals involving the integration of ferry services or the restructuring of resources of the two terminals must be subject to prudent examination. This applies in particular to the capacity of the terminal and its associated facilities upon integration. We will have to assess the situation. The government also has to assess a number of factors, such as the existing facilities of the terminal. Can they support the operation of the pier as the only terminal in the long run? We also have to assess other factors, the technical feasibility of the works, any necessary alterations, the impact on passengers, operators, and the overall cross-boundary transportation network. Also, the financial viability and cost-effectiveness, among other factors. The government will continue to closely monitor the long-term operation of the two terminals. We will also explore different ways to promote their sustainable development. We will keep an open mind. Such options include the viability of merging the two terminals. Third, at present, the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal and the Ocean Terminal in Tsim Sha Tsui provide a total of 4 berthing spaces for cruise ships of different sizes. There are enough berths for inbound cruise ships. Meanwhile, the government and relevant organizations are currently exploring the provision of additional yacht berthing facilities at various locations. On the proposal of converting the terminals into the cross-boundary ferry terminals into passenger transit centers designated for small and medium-sized cruise ships and pleasure vessels, cautious consideration must be given not only to the changes in demand for cross-boundary ferry services, the long-term operation of the two cross-boundary ferry terminals, and the technical feasibility of adjusting their usage, but also to the market demand for and the investment interest in facilities related to small and medium-sized cruise ships and pleasure vessels. The government will remain open-minded and remain in touch with the industry and stakeholders on optimizing the use of the cross-boundary ferry terminals and enhance efficiency in operations and resources with a view to exploring feasible business models and assessing the cost-effectiveness of the proposals. The government will carefully examine the proposals and take appropriate follow-up action in the light of actual circumstances. 8 members are waiting to put their supplementary questions. Please keep your questions and replies brief. Mr. Lothair LAM. Thank you. The government is driving the yacht economy. They're trying to bring in high-spending visitors. Those visitors want food and shopping options close by. The China Ferry Terminal sits on a prime site. There are breakwaters on the site. The waves are gentle. It takes little investment to create a huge yacht marina at the location. You can even put super yachts there. The site will be ready way sooner than the former Hong Ham freight yard. So can we consider this location, Secretary? To support Hong Kong's future yacht development, or rather the future development of our yacht economy, government departments are looking to provide extra yacht berthing facilities. The China Ferry Terminal is in Tsim Sha Tsui. It's in a prime location. It has the potential to be developed into something else. This terminal, however, still provides regular cross-boundary ferry services. In the first quarter, there was a significant growth in patronage. So we will carefully consider various factors. We will keep an open mind. We will look out for good ideas from the industry, and we will remain in touch with the sector. Mr. Lau Ka-Keung. Thank you. The tonnage is roughly 200 for ferries berthing at the China Ferry Terminal. It's close to the Hoi Wan building. There you can also put 5-ton, you can also put larger cruise terminals at the Ocean Terminal. So given the current location and the condition, What's the heaviest vessel we can allow to berth? Can we put 300 and 500-ton yachts at the at the location? Secretary. I have some figures to share. At the China ferry terminal, we can put a vessel that is 153 meters long with a 6.5 meter draft. So that's for small and medium-sized yachts. At the Hong Kong waterfront, the former landmark quarry site, and the expansion of the Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter, planning is underway. There will be development at those 3 locations. Altogether, the 3 locations will offer 600 berths. We have to strike a balance for the China ferry terminal. We have to tread with care in exploring development options. Mr. Vincent Chen. There's a drop in the patronage for cross-boundary patronage. Now, with the Express Rail Link and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, land transport is becoming more efficient. So we should be revisiting the positioning of the China ferry terminal. The government has been talking about the cruise tourism. At the panel discussion of the panel on development yesterday, we had a similar discussion. We're still short of 7,000 berths for yachts. The China ferry terminal sits on a prime site. It's close to the West Kowloon Cultural District. Can we revisit this idea? We were talking about 80-meter long yachts for the first question today. Can we make use of the site? Can we revitalize the waterfront and get more visitors to come here? Secretary. At the China ferry terminal, the ferry services go to different mainland cities such as Zhuhai and Zhongshan. During the Chinese New Year this year, there was even a route going to Humen. Of course, there are different land transport options too. There is, however, still demand for cross-boundary transport at sea. The China ferry terminal sits on a prime site. That terminal is better suited for small and medium yachts. For longer or super yachts, around the airport island, they are building a marina. That place will offer 500 berths. 80 of them can accommodate 100-meter long super yacht. So that will give us more options. Mr. Adrian Ho. The expenditure for the 2 terminals will go up from $250 million to $260 million, up 4%. Given this drop in patronage, what is driving up the cost? Secretary. At the 2 terminals, we're talking about terminals built in the 1980s. They are more than 30 years old. The pier facilities are aging. We have to repair and maintain the facilities. That explains the overall expenditure cited by Mr. Ho. So we're spending $70 million and $80 million in 2025 and 2026 respectively on the maintenance. Mr. Lam Wai-Kong. The pay and condition as well as occupational safety and health of seamen are top of mind for the FTU. Now for the Hong Kong-Macau ferry terminal, the ferry services go between Hong Kong and Macau. With the opening of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, there are fewer such cross-boundary ferries. so there's a reduction in the such number of such workers. These ferry terminals are in the center of our city. That means they're more accessible than going through the bridge when you have to go to Tongcheng. Will the government consider stepping up sea transport to supplement land transport? Will there be support measures for the cross-boundary operators? Can we have more destinations, more frequent ferries that will make transport easier for residents who go around different cities in the GBA, and that can also secure the livelihood of seamen? Secretary. Mr. Lam mentioned manpower. We have to provide people with options. We now have the Liantang-Heyuan boundary control point. We now have the express rail link. That takes away some of the demand for cross-boundary ferry services. That explains the downward trend in patronage. We look at the figures from the first quarter this year and last year. There is a drop in patronage at the China ferry terminal, but the ferry services are comparable. New routes are rolled out. More frequent services are available during festivals and holidays. On cross-boundary transport services, options matter. We have to provide the flexibility. Mr. Holden Chow. I want to offer an alternative perspective. The Secretary cited a rebound in the figures at the China ferry terminal. Can we integrate some services to offer flexibility? If we convert the terminal, we have to be careful what we're converting the terminal into. People think through all sorts of factors before taking their yacht here. Any conversion is a major undertaking, so we have to think through our options. So I want to get the Secretary's thoughts on this. So I want to offer something new as well. In my reply to Mr. Lam's question, I said that for the ferry services between Hong Kong and Macau, that's for the Hong Kong-Macau ferry terminal. We now have fewer ferries going to Macau because of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge. The price is part of the reason. And for the China ferry terminal, there was a drop in patronage in recent years. Now there's a new route going to Humen. We will have to watch the trend carefully. The number of passengers using the terminals are also part of the consideration. So the split is 50-50, half of them locals, half of them tourists. The infrastructure is there for such purposes. Any proposal to change the usage has to be considered with care. Mr. Andrew Yao. I thank the government for agreeing to consider the option of merging the terminals. The terminals were built by developers. If the government changes the use of the terminals, will we have to go through approval procedures? If not, can we consider selling the terminals so that we can recoup the investment? Secretary. The China ferry terminal is supposed to be a cross-boundary ferry terminal. Converting the terminal to other use will involve a change in the land use and also a legislative amendment. For any proposal, we have to put Hong Kong's development first. We have to consider the change in demand for cross-boundary ferry services. We have to look at the positioning of the terminal. We have to look at the market's preferences. The need for technical amendments does not hold us back from exploring any options. Mr. Perry Yu. The government has indicated an open mind about the way forward for the two terminals. Conversion or merger is an open mind. Ferry rides at the Victoria Harbour is popular. Tourists like to go on ferry rides. Over weekends and festivals, the ferry piers in Tsim Sha Tsui are crowded. So for the China ferry terminal, of course, closing it is one way to save money. But is there a way for us to save money and also maintain the clearance, the customs and immigration clearance? Can we also open up the space for onboarding and offboarding of pleasure vessels? Secretary. So that's one more option shared by Mr. Yu. The China ferry terminal offers regular cross-boundary ferry services. The demand is there. The members' idea is whether we can open up the terminal for public pleasure vessels. This is not just about whether the water body can support this. This is about whether we can open up the terminal to sightseeing vessels that would change the purpose of the terminal. Can we find a way to make things work with the hardware? This will involve technical changes, and this will involve changing the law. So we will have to approach the matter with care. We thank the member for his question.